Hey guys, welcome back for another YouTube video. This is going to be our daily cryptocurrency market update where we try and help you navigate the treacherous waters of the cryptocurrency market. We're really going to be focusing on Bitcoin technically. I'm just going to be sharing some thoughts with you on what I think is taking place. We were calling for a short squeeze here. We have got one. As a trader, a day trader of this market, you get a real good kind of feel for sentiment and when it flips. And just how fast sentiment flips within the crypto space. It's very bipolar, you know, it makes me nervous because we still have a long-term, or I wouldn't say long-term, a short to mid-term bearish case for not just crypto markets, all markets. I think it's a recessionary period that we're into. We're going to bring the recessionary period up when we look at this article here talking about whales. It also goes into this kind of, you know, Bitcoin might be good value in terms of buying here. And it applies all these historic models, which we have said are not only have many of them already been invalidated, but I think they're going to continue to be invalidated. And I don't think looking at Bitcoin historically and going, okay, well, when it did this in 2018, that was a good buy signal. And when it did this in, 2015, that was a good buy signal. I don't think they count anymore. And I don't think you should use that to try and base future price assumptions because, and I keep stressing this, and I've been stressing this for months now, Bitcoin has never been in an environment like it's in where liquidity is getting vacuumed up. It's really been in a kind of environment that's been very supported by the Fed. It's not seen a recession. It's been kind of backed up since 2008, and now just is not. Environment's just simply different. I think the price is going to act differently, and looking at historic metrics just doesn't really apply. But we will do some technicals. I'll say that to the end. I just also talking about my overall sort of thesis over the short to mid-term. Long-term, we're very, very bullish on the crypto space. This is, I think your all-time highs for most of your notable coins are going to get smashed eventually. I just think it's going to take some time, and what we're really trying to do is time the entry and not the capital that we have, really preserve it. There's a time for making money, and don't get me wrong, as a trader you can make money in any markets, but in terms of being an investor, there's a time for making money and there's a time for preserving that money. And I think now is very much a time to try and protect the capital that you've got, which is hard to do in an environment when you have inflation like it is. Your buying power is going down in terms of your stable coins or your fiat, and also assets are getting smashed. And this, talking about that, is also another reason why we don't think you want to be investing in this kind of an environment. People are getting smashed across the board. Money's becoming tighter and tighter on a retail level, also an intrabank level, a global level, and this is the kind of story that's driving everything. This is from the Fed. This is from Fed's Weller. He sees a significant rate hike this month. Backdated dependent approach. So we've got the CPI print coming out. Could potentially be round about the last one that we got. May even be lower. This may give markets that little bit of extension. I think, to be honest, when I look at the markets right now, and why I said this is going to be a technical video for Bitcoin is, the dollar and Bitcoin the dollar is really the story here for Bitcoin. Just dropping this down to an hourly chart. Let's do a 4-hourly, actually, not go too far down. The correlation is very, very evident. Just to draw this for you, you can see the kind of story here. In fact, we might as well go right the way up with this. And then, of course, dollar comes down, Bitcoin goes up. So the dollar has ran some significant levels. More importantly to me than watching Bitcoin right now is really watching the dollar. The dollar's ran some really significant levels. I think it may pull back for a bit or may have a period of softness. It had an ECB hike. We spoke about you had Bank of Canada, Reserve Bank of Australia, and you had the ECB, all coming out and raising interest rates. ECB did a 75 basis point. That's going to see some kickback on the dollar. But the dollar is now going to do a 75 basis point, potentially rate hike this month, may do a 50. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 50. Although Jerome Powell's been very, very adamant that he's going to continue to really, be aggressive in his rate hiking regime. And we can show you again the 30-day Fed funds futures and Bitcoin. But the dollar may see a little bit more of a pullback, and that may allow Bitcoin and the risk on asset class to see a little bit more price appreciation to the upside. maybe into the rate hike. So that's not going to come till, we've got 10 plus days until we get that. I think it's the 20 something of this month. So that may allow Bitcoin to see a little bit more appreciation. But eventually this gets smashed because of the sort of macro backdrop that we're talking about. And all these models that you see, where you're looking at moving averages. And last time it was below this moving average for so long, this was a really good buying opportunity. It may stay significantly under these moving averages for a longer period of time. It will show us if it's not going to. But to kind of look at prior data, and suggest that Bitcoin is going to do the same thing in a completely different environment, I think is pretty naive. And we can pull up a million on one of these. We've looked at the Pi top cycle indicator or whatever it is. We've looked at the Pure indicator, looked at a number of them and said, look, these are all going to be proven wrong. Just like Plan B stock to flow got proven wrong because the environment is just simply different. Going and actually talking about the environment. You look at Bitcoin on the NASDAQ, and we've done this 1,000,001 times for you guys. It's never had to face a recession. It's never been an environment where we've seen the stock market significantly selling off. Bitcoin's existence, look at what the stock market's done. And then to really confuse everybody, let's put the M1 money supply. It's slowly grown since then. Obviously, M1's in blue. Sharp uptick, markets reacting the same way. Teeters off marginally higher highs, and we're now at the other end of that. We're dumping. And markets are going to act... follow it just like they followed it to the upside. So, that's just really to highlight, why I think these models are going to be invalid. But we do see more potentially continuation in the short term for Bitcoin. So let's get down to the technicals. We had essentially spoke about the fact that we saw a short squeeze coming in here. Too many people were short. It's never, ever a good idea. This is why this candle has been so explosive. It's not to do with the whales, by the way. There's always a whale narrative for every single price move. Whales are buying and selling consistently. You could, at any one day, look at what's happening with whales, and often it contradicts what's going on with the price. So if the whales are buying, sometimes the price will go down. This price move was really on the back end, in my opinion, of short squeezes, people getting out and becoming forced buyers. And it's why we've seen so much aggression in it. We did point out potentially this forming some sort of a head and shoulders is potential. The issue with my head and shoulders thesis, obviously this would be the left shoulder, this would be the head, and this would be the right shoulder we're forming, is that this is very strong. So typically you want your right shoulder to be significantly weaker than your left. Now, you can argue that, okay, the left shoulder at one point got to $22,517. So there is still a little bit more upside to go here. Will it do that? Well, again, very, very dependent on the dollar. So it really is just a dollar story here, guys. So if the dollar comes down, again, look at this correlation on the short term, and continues to come down, well, Bitcoin may continue to go up. And that's really what I'm paying attention to. In the immediate sort of short term, I don't really have a call on this in terms of going long or short here. I would wait for a breakout of either side of this before taking a position, because it's kind of 50-50 with where you're at right now. You've missed this move, you're getting in very late, but at the same time, given the kind of, we're seeing everything pump at the moment. We're seeing Luna C do absolutely insane. Back at $2.6 trillion. For all intents and purposes, this was somewhat a failed project given the catastrophic collapse of their UST. And there was a lot going on with Luna C outside of UST, but UST was the real driver. So when we start to see moves like this kind of euphoria kick back into markets, that's kind of when you want to be worried. And I'm also seeing a kind of sentiment shift. Everyone's long here. So in the same way that everyone was short down here, right on resistance, right on historical resistance going back to 2017, now everyone's flipped along here. Well, it's kind of likely that you might do something like this. Everyone will flip bearish again, and then you'll come back up, and you'll just confuse the hell out of markets, waiting for that larger sort of return move to the downside. It's my opinion that eventually 15K gets run for Bitcoin. And what's that going to mean for your altcoin market? Let's look at the total. What are we drawing here? Always interests me because I come back to the charts and I'm like, oh, so yeah, we were looking for some sort of deviation at the top here. You know, could this push up a little bit? Absolutely, it could. Technically, if you're looking at this as on a trend base, you know, you're putting in a lower high, you're going to put in a higher high. You need some sort of break of that. So it's very sort of wishy-washy at the moment. Hard read for me right now, and to say, you know, in regards to say which way this goes. Longer term, we know it's coming back down. Does it form? And could you still say that is our head and shoulders? And you've just because you have a stronger right shoulder doesn't necessarily invalidate the head and shoulders. But it's kind of like, you know, you're looking for clue when a structure plays out. This is just how I see it anyway. When you have a structure playing out, whether it be a double bottom or whether it be a head and shoulders, there's kind of hallmarks that you want to look for of the structure having more probability of playing out. A weaker right shoulder is that, just like on a double bottom. You know, one reason I'm not convinced on this being a double bottom is for the reasons that I wanted more strength here. So, you know, really, I'd like to have seen a lot more strength there. It's still time for that to play out, but it's got to show us that strength, and then we can look for sort of further upside. I remember going into the start of the month, we were talking about basically talking about September being called Rectember, and the problem that you've got is when everybody's looking again for shorting, when everyone's looking for September being a bearish month, chances are it isn't going to be. So there's a few things that I've kind of left you with there. Still looking for that broader head and shoulders to play out. Today, it's the weekend, guys. I'm probably not even going to bother trading this market on the weekend or today. Maybe look at it on Sunday with the futures opening. But not really sure on the short term. I'd probably sit this one out and look for a break to either the up or the downside to look for the day trades. More short to mid-term, talking about sort of the macro and the direction of crypto, we still see more downside. When that occurs is really going to depend on the short term, and when we have this break and you know, possibly going into another harsh interest rate hike for the Fed. Is that going to be the kind of catalyst that causes markets to then roll over? Potentially, we've also got the CPI print, so whatever data that gives us, you know, maybe that comes out lower and sees markets pump a little bit, only until the Fed's meeting where they actually decide to do another harsh interest rate hike. Potentially propel the DXY if this is more of a short-term pullback, and of course bring the risk asset class and the crypto market down, or the US stock market and the cryptocurrency market down. It's going to be an interesting month, guys, but we'll keep you up to date on it on a daily basis. So if you've enjoyed this content, a like is always appreciated, so as a comment, and look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.